Hi there. This is David Loving. I'm a real estate photographer with Flyover Country Aerial Solutions, and we serve the southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri, northeast Oklahoma, and northwest Arkansas area. So if you're a realtor in this area, I'd love to hear from you, maybe shoot a listing or two for you, because I love shooting real estate. I love looking at a house and finding how to tell that house's story in a way that engages a prospective buyer. But I also realize the reality of working real estate in this area is that not every property you list is a $500,000 or $1 million listing or anything that requires the services of a professional photographer. You probably have plenty of listings that are $100,000, maybe even less. Listings where the commission is small enough that it just doesn't make sense to bring in a professional. Now, maybe you're lucky. Maybe you work at a large agency that has an in-house marketing department that can handle all of this for you. If so, great. But for the rest of you, for those of you at smaller agencies, maybe running a solo shop, you probably just pull out your cell phone and shoot some quick pictures so you've got something to add to the online listing. And that's fine. There's nothing at all wrong with that. I'm absolutely not judging. But I want to talk today about some things you can do to make those pictures better. Because here's the thing, I look at a lot of listings. And when you see a lot of these where the realtors shot photos with their cell phone, they tend to all start looking the same. They tend to be kind of bland. They tend to have some weird angles in them. I want to talk today about what you can do to make your photos stand out in that sea of blah that we see on Zillow, on Realtor, on Homes.com, on any of those MLS sites. So, what I've done is gone through listings. I didn't use any of the listings from around here because I don't want to pull out realtors that I might actually be working with. I'm also not going to name the realtors or even where these listings are because it doesn't really matter. I see lots of stuff like this around here, and so I want to highlight some of the things that I see as a photographer when I look at these listings and give you some suggestions for how to get better listings out of them. Step one is be intentional with what you shoot. Have a plan. Know what you're photographing. And by the way, closely related, step 1A, turn on the lights. That'll keep the photos from looking like a 1980s basement. Step 2, don't be afraid to crouch down or squat. Makes a much bigger difference than you would think. If you think about a typical room with a 10-foot ceiling, the angles, the perspective in the room is most natural from about chest level for most people. So don't be afraid to squat down or bend down a little bit to get these shots. It'll give you much nicer angles in the room. And then finally, don't be afraid to do a few tweaks and edit your photos a little bit. Let's look at a few photos and give you a sense of what I mean. Okay, the first thing that you can do is to be intentional about the photos that you shoot. And I'm going to pick on this one here because it's an unfocused photo. It's not really clear. I guess we're supposed to be seeing the hall, but to really get the hall, you actually need a much wider angle than what this is. Otherwise, it just looks kind of cluttered. It's not really drawing our attention to anything specific. If your camera won't zoom out any farther to get the hall in so that we can tell what we're supposed to be looking at, don't shoot it. You don't really have to have this photo. This is not going to make or break your listing. Okay, this next one is a good example of a couple of things. They've done a better job of being intentional in this one, and we know we're supposed to be looking at the bedroom. But there are a couple of things that we can do differently. First off, let's make the photo straight because this is driving me crazy. So, I'm doing this on a Macintosh using the Photos app. If you're on iPhone, the Photos app has most of these same options and works in a fairly similar way. You have the ability to edit. I'm not an authority on Android, but Android actually has as good or better photo editing options than the iOS side of things. So everything I'm doing on the computer, you can do on your phone. And if you're interested, drop it in the comments. I'd be willing to make a video showing you how to do all of this on your phone. So the first thing that I'd call your attention to here, there are actually several things we can do. If we go to the crop panel, we just want to straighten this up. So let's use the rotate feature to rotate this photo. And what I'm going to try to do is make this line right here on the wall as close to straight as I can get it. And that's not bad. That's a lot better than it was to begin with. So I think we're going to stick there. The other thing we might do is adjust the vertical just a little bit like that But by adjusting the vertical, it does away with a little bit of that skew they got because whoever shot this photo was standing up when they did it. So we've already improved this photo quite a bit by just straightening it, by just making sure that everything's straight. So we're going to click Done there. Now, virtually every modern photo editing app has this little magic wand here. We can click it and it will do an auto enhance on the photo. And the main thing it did was make it brighter. And yeah, that helps. If you do nothing else, straighten the photo and click auto enhance, and we've already improved it immeasurably. Right now, though, I'm going to turn auto enhance off and show you a little bit of what's going on under the hood. We've got all of these options, and it can look a bit overwhelming, but it's actually not that much to worry about. The main things I would recommend paying attention to are shadows and highlights. Shadows, this doesn't look like a super shadowy picture, but if I turn shadows up, you'll see it actually makes the details a lot easier to see. And again, the highlights aren't crazy in this picture, but if we turn them back, it maybe gives it a little bit more character. The big thing we can do, though, is this guy right down here, white balance. This will make your photos a lot better if you do it properly. And honestly, it's got this auto function that adjusts the white balance, boom, right there. Most of the time, auto white balance is fine. And you'll see if I turn this off, that photos just, everything's a little bit too yellow in it. Most of the time, the lights in our house are just a little bit too yellow. We don't notice it in real life. But when you put it in a photograph, it stands out a little bit more. So by doing auto white balance, it pulls that kind of sickly yellow cast out of the photo. And frankly, that's about all I would do to this one. But with just those few tweaks, what did that take me? Maybe a minute, and that was explaining it while I did it. It doesn't take long, and I've already made this photo significantly better. If you don't believe me, let's click back. This is what the photo looked like before. Here's what it looks like now. It's not a radical change, but the photo just looks that much more appealing. This wasn't a terrible photograph to begin with. Let's do the same thing to an exterior photograph, and you'll really see how big a change we can make. So what's the first thing we want to do? We're going to edit, go to crop, but crop is also where you find straighten, because you'll notice the house is crooked in this one. So we're just going to tweak it here a little bit. I'm looking at this window and trying to square it up, but you'll notice it kind of squares up the roof line. That roof is a little cattywampus right there anyway. But it makes these horizontal lines on the siding a lot straighter. So already we've improved things a little bit. We'll click done. Now let's see what the magic wand does. Oh, again, that brightened things up a little bit. I think we can do a little better if we go to edit. I'm going to take the highlights down. This is actually one of those neat tricks in exterior photos. It'll actually make the sky look a little bit bluer when you do that, which we all love. And then take the shadows. And on this one, because we're shooting almost into the sun, I'm going to take the shadows up quite a bit. And there, we've already made this considerably brighter. You can add in a little bit of vibrance on the color, and it'll make the colors pop just a little bit more. I don't go crazy with it, or it'll look kind of gaudy, but a little bit won't hurt. So yeah, again, let's compare the original with what we've done to it. There's the original. Here's our edit. It's a little bit closer, a little bit brighter, just looks a little bit more natural. Looks a little bit like what you see if you actually look at the house. This one right here is a great illustration. So once again, what do we see? Let's straighten this. This is driving me crazy. This is almost painful to look at. So we're going to straighten it. So we go to Edit, Crop, and we're going to get that horizontal line right here of the ceiling so that it's straight. Now, we might play a little bit with the vertical here. It's not actually too bad. If we go a little bit that way, it'll make it look a little bit more natural. And honestly, the horizontal on this one could probably use just a little bit because it looks like the camera was kind of at an angle. So, again, let's just see what we've done so far. If we revert to the original, it's crooked like that. We go back to our edits. So, we're done with that. Now, what does our magic wand do? Brightens it up just a little bit. We can goose the shadows up. We do have some highlights running a little crazy here, so let's take the highlights down. And then let's tweak the white balance. Again, let's go to auto white balance, and it takes some of the yellow out and helps pull out some of the greens in the table. It looks a little more natural. So again, that's what it looked like originally. Here's what we've got now. A lot cleaner, a lot straighter, a little bit less cockeyed. Makes the house look a little bit sharper, a little bit more welcoming. Finally, I've got one more to show you, and that is this one. It's an empty house. Notice here we've got several things going on. It was shot standing up, and it's crooked, so we've got that to deal with. We've got all of this light coming in through the windows that's actually making this room look a little darker than it should. And then we've got some yellow coming in here that's giving it a color cast. All of these things, though, aren't that hard to fix. So, you know the drill by now. We're going to go to crop. Actually, I'm going to straighten the horizontal bit first, like that, and the vertical quite a bit. And then we're going to try to straighten it. And usually what I do is try to pick a line and make the line straight. Like in this case, the central line is this wall here. So we'll try to make it good and straight. Highlights. You want to make those windows look better, pull the highlights out just a little bit. And we can see how that truck out there, for example, becomes a little bit more defined as I pull the highlights out. That keeps the windows from blowing everything else out. Now the shadows we're going to want to take up quite a bit. And see how much more detail we get when we take the shadows up like that. And then white balance. This is really going to need some white balance work. So let's see what auto does. Yeah, see the difference here, how auto tames those yellows. And so again, let's revert to original. That's what we started with. That's what we've got now. We're zoomed in closer. The angles are straight. We see a little bit more detail. These are all simple things that you can do. And in fact, you can save a lot of the crop work if you shoot the photographs from a squatting position to begin with. So again, reviewing the 3 takeaways. Number 1, be intentional in what you shoot. And 1A, remember to turn on the lights. Number 2, don't be afraid to bend down or squat so that you get better angles, more natural perspective in your photos. And number 3, don't be afraid to do a little bit of light editing on your photos. I think I've shown you that it's really easy to do on your phone or your computer and doesn't take that long. You can do a couple of really quick tweaks before you upload something, and it'll look a whole lot better, a whole lot quicker. So if you found this helpful, please like or subscribe. And if you have other suggestions or things you'd like more information on or videos you'd like to see, please drop it in the comments and I'll certainly have a look. That's all for today. Thanks and have a great day.